And good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 131 of New York Red Bulls Discussion Group, the podcast. I'm Gary Redmond. Greetings and salutations at your service. Well, we lost. Let's just get that out the way, okay? So we're going to basically talk about, the final game of the season. The season is over. At least we have a conference championship to celebrate about. But we're going to go through all that real quick. 2024 MLS Cup Final. Los Angeles Galaxy, now 6-time MLS champions. And, of course, New York Red Bulls. When they take the field in 2025, they'll be the defending Eastern Conference champions. Of course, this is part one of our post-season postscript, and we're going to talk about Gotham FC first. And with that, we're going to have special guest Gary Gibson of Soccer Over Gotham. He's going to be joining the show. We're going to talk about what Gotham did, what they should have done, and what they could do in 2025. And of course, if you missed the live show, which is happening right now, you can actually catch the Corning on YouTube, which is our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love that sort of thing. Goals.tv. And, of course, our home from the very beginning, Spotify.com. All of our episodes, of course, as always, are uploaded the very next day. And we try very hard to make this show one of the best ones out there. For that, we need your help. Please let us know how we're doing. Welcome any feedback, good or bad. Please shoot us an email at rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is rbdgthepodcast, one word, at gmail.com. Well, the season is basically over. So what's there to talk about? Well, players coming in and going out. Of course, we're going to talk about Gotham FC and how they're going to be getting ready for next year. But it was a tremendous experience. With all due, when you really look at it, we never really expected to go that far, right? So to make it all the way to the final, only to lose, it's going to put a bad taste in everyone's mouth for the next 2 months. And the reason why I say next 2 months is because one thing about deep playoff runs, they're short. The off seasons are very short, which means the Red Bulls got a lot to do, because while they're sitting there licking their wounds, unfortunately, your rivals are getting stronger. With that, I'm going to bring in, of course, two of my excellent co-hosts who went to L.A., or in this case, Carson, okay? And other than a fantastic experience, which I dearly wish I was with you guys, how was your weekend? Everything was fine until the game, as they say.
No, you know what? I think the weekend, my weekend was great, Gary. I went out to LA, which I don't need any
which is basically
your
second home.
I love it there, man.
Okay.
I love it there. It's just my stay was too short. Okay, the weather was perfect. There was lots and lots of Red Bulls fans. We stayed at a hotel by the airport, and there was a lot of Red Bulls fans in those hotels, man. On the flight here, I think we had like 20 guys on our and gals on our flight, and then, dare I say, Gary, our supporters were louder than theirs. Okay.
I mean,
Nicholas might disagree, but I don't.
2,200 of you guys showed up, thanks in part to the front office, which bought the tickets.
Right. And the front office was on the other side as well.
Right.
A lot of people
bought the tickets, told you guys, hey, we got the tickets. You want to show up? Hey, hop on the plane. We got you once you get here. Again, Nicholas, no other team does this. And as much stick that most people give the front office, this is the one thing they do right. And the one thing they do well. Go ahead, Nick. Without sounding like a shrill. Go ahead, man.
Shout out to the front office. They made this weekend possible. 2,200 people showed up for us for a weekend on a 1 week's notice. Give them props. Give ELC credit. Give the Viking Army credit, because they got everybody enthused. We were rocking that place since 10 o'clock in the morning when we showed up at that stadium. We were in this place 3 hours early, Everybody was loud. Everybody was on their feet. We made LA right for at least 4 hours of the day. For at
Well,
least
for those of
four
you
hours.
for those of you who don't quite understand about time differences, okay, the game did take place out in the West Coast. People think, oh, was it 4 o'clock in LA? No, it was. If it was 4 o'clock in LA, it would have been 8 o'clock here in New York. But no, it was 4 o'clock here, which meant 1 o'clock in the afternoon in LA. So I
Right.
can imagine you guys had to wake up and go, "Oh, we gotta go, we gotta go to the stadium." So you guys, so Miguel, you were coming from the airport. Was it LAX or someplace else?
Yeah, yeah, you know, and it was LAX. Our
Okay.
hotel
Now that
hotel was
from
blocks
LAX
away.
to Carson, that can't be an easy trip with traffic and all that.
No, no, Gary, it was like there was no
5 minutes.
nothing to it. We called an Uber, at the front of a hotel. I don't think it was even a half an hour ride. You know,
Wow,
it might have been like 25 minutes. You
25
know,
minutes.
something like that. Yeah.
They got us our own
Oh,
parking lot. It was perfect. We were allowed to tailgate. Listen, it
Gary,
was perfect. You couldn't ask for
Mhm.
anything else. It was a
Gary, we were picked up by Jesus. Okay, so I thought that was a sign, but no. Okay, his sons were going to the game. Okay, so two guys of his two of his sons were going to the game. But yeah, and he predicted 3-1 to the Gals.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well,
Jesus
let's talk.
wasn't with us.
Well, let's talk about the game, and for because of time constraints and because we want to keep people from yelling at us, we are not going to do the recap. We're not going to do the video recap for obvious reasons because everybody knows what happened. Okay.
Are we going to show
First,
that penalty at all? Or
unfortunately, I couldn't find the video
uh,
for it. I mean, I know that's going to be the cost. I know that's going to be the target of consternation, and we will speak about that. But before we even kick off, there was a problem. A lot of Red Bull fans were pumped up. They were ready to go. They were psyched up the human capacity until they looked at the starting lineup and they noticed that somebody was missing. And that threw a whole web of confusion at that point, Nick. You were wondering, okay, wait a minute. What happened here? I mean, what happened to
Andre Reyes.
Andre Reyes? I mean,
Announced, announced 10 minutes before everybody else, as they do the visiting announcements. Andre Reyes starting. He was the first person announced. We look around, we see him on the field, no problem. Comes out of in pregame warmups. We get notified via Apple TV that Reyes is out sick. Now, did he get hurt during pregame, which we couldn't tell from where we were sitting, and it set this team off in the wrong way. Now you bring in Noah Ellie to play his position, cold, because it's a last minute thing. Now the chemistry that you just built up through with Nealis and Reyes playing together, with Dylan and them three working together, the 3 men backfield, that went out the window in about 30 seconds flat. And you saw it instantly on the field because the gaps were there, and LA just went, "Oh, good look! They look like Swiss cheese defense." And first 15 minutes were not the prettiest things for us.
it started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We were also allowed to have smoke. Ooh, nice. I mean, they actually, I mean, well, they wanted the atmosphere to become more like a final. And as far as any idea what happened, Lisa, sadly the only thing that I can only report at this moment is we don't know. There will be a media availability, of course, for the team and everyone starting at noon at Red Bull Arena. Anthony will be there. I will be on Zoom listening in and answering questions and wondering, okay, what happened? What was the official word? Was he injured? Was he sick? What was the deal? I mean, you got two goals that came in, and that was it. And of course, Sean Nealis with a goal going back, coming in the second half, and that was all the road at that point. There was nothing more to do except watch the other team win a championship for the sixth time. So Pansel in the ninth minute, Jovelik, of course, on 13th, and then Nealis in the 28th. All goals coming in the first half. And after that,
yeah,
everything just simply got quiet after that. Okay. 2-1,
yeah.
of course, was the final score. When you look at the statistics, once again, when I see the team Red Bulls who usually says, you know what, you can have the ball, but with 59% of possession, that was basically on the first half. They were basically chasing the game, throughout the match. The one thing that got me in my picture, boys, is you had our captain, Emil Forsberg, with a magnificent chance. Okay, except it glanced off the post.
Yeah.
My heart sank at that
And
point.
also,
I was like,
also,
aye, 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 aye.
also, Gary, let's just mention that after like a massive performance in the playoffs, um, Carlos Coronel unfortunately had a moment, on the first goal where the ball just went under his hands, like his wrist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he should have saved that, but you gotta give it to him because without him, we wouldn't have been there. Okay.
Oh no, I mean, he
Yeah,
was basically on a hot streak. Okay,
right. It's unfortunate he had that moment, but he did. Our guys should have come through, especially in the second half. The Galaxy was sitting back, but we couldn't get anything going. Bad decisions, on the ball, on the passes. Guys were reluctant to, for some reason. When they got the ball up the sides, they were reluctant to just drive into the end or even cut inside. I don't understand what happened there. Another issue, there were like a lot of balls up in the air, and they might have been coming to our guys, but it was like headers to nobody, man. Instead of looking around, bringing it down and see what you can do. There was a lot of that. Okay, and at some point in the second half, they could have had another. I think it was a German guy. He might have had one, but he totally put it on the side. And the other issue, I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but
we are.
That penalty, there was a penalty, okay, that should have been called in our favor, Gary. And I believe it was Corey Burke.
Corey Burke was in front of him, but it was
one of our guys that was tackled like as an NFL football.
Well, that was that happened to be Delgado on Elias Manuel. It was grabbed from behind, okay, and got tackled in. My girlfriend saw it in real time. She called it immediately. She said, "That's a foul."
That was a penalty. Stone cold.
That's a foul. How do you
saw that video?
I mean, never mind being in the box. In the open field, that would have been called. That's a foul. Maybe
open field.
Maybe the referee, maybe the referee got blocked, but according to you, Nick, the linesman was right there.
Yeah,
he was line of, and I'm talking line of sight there. He saw it.
Yeah.
So what was that all about?
Yeah, the linesman has to watch because the ball was lofted to the back side of the post, so he's got to watch to make sure the ball doesn't go out of play. So he's right there, and he sees there's Burke and Manuel and the defender wrapping his hands around the waist of Elias Manuel as Manuel jumps up to it, try to go towards the ball, and he just takes him right out of the play, takes him right out. Clearly a foul. Clearly takes him down. Now the linesman didn't make a call. The ref, you could see through because there was a lot of bodies in front of the ref.
Right.
He's not going to have a clear view of it, so I can understand his thing. But the linesman's right there.
Don't start, Lisa.
Yeah.
Already with the jinx, Ray. I mean,
and then the VAR, which is supposed to be the instant, let's look at things correctly, make sure we didn't blow this.
Didn't give it a look.
They didn't even stop to give it a look. They stopped the game, and here's my other thing. They stopped. There was a man down from LA for about 5 minutes right before that play happened, and they only gave us 6 minutes of injury time. What clock were you working on? How is that possible? There was a guy down from the 83rd. They restarted play at the 89th minute, and there's only 6 minutes, and both teams made 3 substitution windows and made 4 substitutions. Made no sense. There should have been another 3 minutes of. There should have been at least 10 minutes of injury time to go.
Let's talk. Okay, let's talk about that. Those substitutions for 1 second. And this is something that most of my friends, pointed out. Deep teams win championships. Okay, they do, and I'm not knocking the guys that got there. Okay, but when you look, okay, at the roster of the LA Galaxy, take a look at the names that came off the bench. You had Marco Royce, okay, Jalen Neal, Diego Fagundes. These guys were veterans, okay.
They definitely have a deeper team than we.
They have a deeper team than we do, okay.
Yeah.
You had Corey Burke coming on in the 84th minute, Elias Manuel coming on the 65th, Ronald Duncor, first year, second year guy, who's been fantastic this year, 65th minute. Wiki Carmona, he's there here and there, but that's basically it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shaking my boots if I was on the other team and those guys came on. Okay.
Yeah, I look at that and I go, okay.
Yeah.
This is where I said way in the beginning that this was not enough. That we needed some veterans off the bench, not necessarily impact players, but this is how LA. And let's talk about the LA fans. Okay, congratulations first of all to the LA Galaxy. Congratulations to the fans, especially the folks over at the Riot Squad. Last year, remember last year where our fans in South Ward held up a banner that said "Not good enough."
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that led into this year. Okay, their fans revolted. Okay, they wanted heads to roll. You had a difference between one organization trying to win and another organization that was expected to win everything. Okay, things were not working right. They were literally second to last at the table, and they just simply said, "You know what, guys, gotta go." So the Galaxy responded, okay, and spent money on gotten players. They gotten rid of the guys that they've always gotten names and everything else, but they weren't working. Nothing was working with these guys. So they went out and got players that did. Okay, so fast forward to where they are now, and it's little wonder why they were able to win this game, regardless of their defense. And this is something I brought up, in my column when I wrote the preview. Okay, they had Ricky Pooch got injured from an ACL injury, but before that, he was one of 4 guys that scored in double digits this season. 4, not just 1 or 2, 4. The Red Bulls had to be basically the unmovable object versus the irresistible force. And that had me concerned. Okay, even if you take Ricky Pooch out, you still had guys that, with double digit scores. How in the world you was going to slow those dudes down? I knew that there was no way in the world they was going to get shut out. What also worried me, boys, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miguel, Nick, everyone out there, chiming in, the Red Bulls would have to be forced to play a near perfect game. Near perfect game. They couldn't make any mistakes, but they did in the 9th minute and again on the 13th. They were basically down. The Galaxy was primed, right, to get ready to blow them out, walk them out the club. Then the goal in the set piece. Because if there's one thing the Galaxy had issues with, set piece defending. But up until this point, they were blowing away teams left and right. 17 goals to 3, guys, throughout the playoffs. 17 double-digit scorers, double-digit goals throughout the playoffs. They were rolling. Okay? We got there through defense. And the game that really mattered most, one of our best defenders was MIA.
And that was the biggest problem.
That was the biggest problem. Death, right? Never mind all that. Suppose we had a decent backup for Rays, which one thing about him, he was inconsistent. You don't know what type of Andres Rays you was going to get. Right, Miguel? Was he going to be a
Right.
good one? Or were we going to get the knucklehead Andres Reyes, where he's one card away from being red carded out the game? Even worse,
Yeah.
in the biggest game of the year, he was MIA. Now, I don't know about you. I can understand people say I don't understand the hatred toward Andres Reyes. I'm like, well, I kind of understand how the fans feel because both of those soft goals was right there where he played. Put Andres Reyes there, those goals don't happen at all.
No.
Those goals don't happen. We would still be talking about 0-0 in the first 45 minutes. Maybe we were able to get out of there with a 1-goal lead in the first half before the Galaxy probably, eat their spinach, flex their muscles, and blow us out of the park. Some teams, it just goes to show that some teams make history. We make mistakes. So I guess the question...
Be careful, Gary. Be careful, Gary.
Be careful? Go ahead.
I saw a post like in this discussion group today, and it was about the guy goes like, "We never get the job done." Okay, I think that's all the guy said. I forget who posted it, but then it was everybody piled on and on and on and on. We weren't supposed to make it this year. Nobody predicted whatever, blah, 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 blah. We made it to the final game.
Right.
Okay.
To the finals. I mean, if there is one, I agree with you, Miguel. If there is one big ass feather in the cap, right?
Right.
One big that we can able to walk around with our chest puffed up and like doing that swagger stuff like that. We made it to the final game when nobody didn't think we could. Nobody. Not you, not Nick, not even Carlos. Nobody. Not even Lanre. Nobody didn't think we was going to get that far. Nobody. Okay?
Right.
So that's probably the reason. I mean, that's why this whole thing is bittersweet, right?
It is. Because you know why? I mean, like, for instance, I have expectations.
So do I.
Want my,
you heard mine. You heard mine. Go ahead. I mean, we all had expectations.
As a fan, you have to have expectations, man. You have to, as a matter of fact, I took like a bunch of videos, which I'll post. I was certain. I was like, we're going to win. These guys have got to get the job done, and we're going to take our first MLS Cup. And we could have done it. Those guys weren't world beaters, okay?
Well, I don't know. If you're knocking out opponents with 17-3 score line.
No.
I don't know.
We could have had them in the second half, Gary. That's what I'm saying. And if the effing ref was competent, would have given us a freaking penalty at the end.
I mean,
because it was a penalty.
Up until that point, he was doing fine. He was doing he was basically officiating, pretty much a decent game up until that point. This is one of those instances where, okay, there was no communication. Everybody in the building saw what was, because at that point, the LA fans was quiet for a split second. They were prepared to hear that whistle.
Bro, you know how many times I see that? Because you know how many times I see like these Prem games? Because as you know, I follow Arsenal, but something would happen in the box, play will continue, and maybe like a minute or two later, the VAR tells the freaking ref to go to the monitor, okay? Mm-hmm. And then I've seen these penalties given, and if clear and obvious, man. Clear and obvious. If that wasn't clear and obvious, Gary, I don't know what is. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The one good thing I say about our run was this definitely rejuvenated the franchise. You could see it. The fans,
Right.
the fans came back, and they were
Oh
and
yeah.
the
Oh
fan
yeah.
fans were back into the team. Muslim had said, "All right, just making the playoffs is not good enough. I don't care." Like we kept hearing, playoffs are anything. Playoffs are this. We know we're done in the first round. Well, you weren't done in the first round. You beat Columbus. You sent the message. We went on the road. We beat the Smurfs. I sent a bigger message. Yeah, that game after that point was house money. The game in Orlando was house money. Yes, we played with house money, but we beat Orlando. We were there. We were in the final. You saw everyone that was a Red Bull fan basically coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, shit, this thing, they were
I
there.
mean, I kind of laughed a little bit when we talked about that, Nick. It was like, where's all these fans coming from? Where the hell have they been all this time? Oh, they were
2,200 people
hiding.
showed up.
Yeah.
Yes, we were in LA. We made it red for at least 3 hours. It was red. That upper decks, the second deck where we were sitting, in those sections, from 10 from 12:30 Pacific time was shaking for the first hour and a half. You felt something. You felt everybody. You heard everyone. It was just echoing in that place, and we drowned out for a portion of the game. LA's LA's supporter section. It was
Yeah.
there. These people came out. If this doesn't send a message, hey man, the front office, the guys that the sporting. This is not to the message to the sporting side, not to the other front office that accommodated, got everybody there. Hey,
Hey, remember they're two different departments. Yeah.
if the
Right.
sporting side now, if you build it, they will come. You see what's there. Now give us a better product on the
Right.
field. It's
It's
there.
not so much.
Gary,
It's not so much. Let me finish, Miguel. It's not so much a better product. Okay, it's a consistent one. Okay, all I ask, right? All I've ever asked was one thing: put this team in a position where winning a cup is not a matter of if, but when.
That's 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 what I want to see. That's what everybody wants to see.
Not
We,
if,
we
when. I
want
don't care if we I don't care if we get back there, right? And lose again. At least we got there. Okay? Do something to build on that. Okay? Don't just we're into the final and then disappear 5 years because every time we have a new team come in, San Diego's coming online next season. LA, it took 10 years
to get that.
for them to get their sixth. It's hard, and every season it gets harder because the way this league is, we hate using that word. It's cliche but true. Parity, right? Which means up until the playoffs, everybody got a shot. We get a lot of teams going into the playoffs.
yeah.
Okay,
Also, yeah. And as
go
a
ahead,
matter of fact,
Miguel.
you mentioned it would be great if we didn't have a team that was just squeaking into the playoffs, Gary. It'd
Yeah,
be great if we had a team that was fighting for that top spot in the East. Because positioning matters, man. A home game in the playoffs. Come on. Give
well,
us
there was
some
some teams.
guys.
You know what? There were some teams that had home games and they had home court advantage, and we just exploited the living daylights out of them. We
Yeah.
weren't supposed to beat Columbus at home. We did. Not only that, it was a shutout, a one-goal shutout. We wasn't supposed to beat NYCFC over in Flushing. We
Right.
did 2-0. We weren't supposed to beat Orlando at their house. It's been a house of horrors. Somehow we got out of there with a one-goal lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been saying this for years, right, guys? The playoffs is a crapshoot. Anything can go wrong.
Right.
We've
And
had
with
home court advantage and squandered it. So it was nice to see it flipped on the other side for a change. Fans will
right,
never
right.
forget this run. But if they want, and I agree with you, Miguel, if they want to keep these fans, Nick, that came out of the woodwork to
Exactly.
experience one of the most wildest rides that fans have ever seen, they need to build on this. The
Okay.
slogan for the Red Bulls, of course, would be Red runs it back. Run it back. Do whatever you have to do to run that back. Real quick, we're going to have some words, of course, with Emil Forsberg, the captain, and he had these words to say after the game.
It's tough. I'm very disappointed, of course, angry, but it's part of the game. And at the end of the day, congratulations on LA Galaxy, and we move on.
Thank you.
Emil, you were in the second half. You have a shot to the post. What went through your head when you?
No, I think it was that kind of day. Honestly, maybe it wasn't the perfect day for us, for me. So just a big disappointment right now. Even though I'm proud of the team and what we achieved together, it's still, yeah, it's a big disappointment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been on both sides of the coin with Leipzig. You've lost cups. You've won them. What is something that you can say about this team that you think is positive for them to take into next season?
Oh, the character, the mentality that we have. I think this just showed us what kind of quality we had. This today wasn't the best day, to be honest, of course. But I'm very proud of the boys, how we attacked this game, how we, after the first 20 minutes, went after it, tried to desperately score some goals. We had some chances, so I'm very disappointed and angry, but I'm still very proud of the team and what we achieved, and this just gives us motivation for more next year, for sure.
I know it's hard to answer now, but how excited are you about the possibilities that this club has in 2025?
No, I think we have fantastic possibilities, and I'm sure of it. I'm very sure of it with these players and with the coaching staff and everything we got going. I'm positive that we're going to achieve big things next year as well. I mean, this was the start, and it feels bad today, very bad, sad, angry, but on the other hand, I'm very proud of the guys and how we went on in this playoff and showed what we can do as a team together. And this, like I said, gives us motivation and should give us hope. And for next year, I think next year is going to be big for us. I'm very, very positive about next year, even though it feels like shit now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Okay, this guy was brought in, and his attitude was infectious. He wanted to win. Okay, plain and simple, wanted to win. So I agree with you, Nick. We got the pieces. What they have to do now is they basically, they have to, build around that and see what they do from there. Of course, that is the end of the season. Of course, we're going to talk real quick after the break. There were some moves that the Red Bulls made. We'll go through that. And of course, we're going to bring in a very good friend we haven't seen in a while, but you probably already know him. His name is, you probably already know him. He's Gary Gibson. He runs a podcast simply known as Soccer Over Gotham. Now, we talk about Gotham FC a bit, of course, every Final Score every weekend. He and Ruby, they pretty much immerses you in it. And so what we're going to talk about is, hey, how well they did and where they're going, of course, in 2025. We'll be back in 30 seconds. A bit of a program note before we begin the second half of our show. We have one more show. We have one more episode to talk about. Of course, that's the second part of our season postscript, which we will talk about New York Red Bull 2. But first, a little bit of news that came out from New York Red Bulls boys. Carlos Coronel, the team excised his option for 2025. They lost two players, Adrian O'Connor, the defender, Corey Burke, the forward. Thank you for your service. You guys are done. AJ Marcucci is coming back from his loan, Nick, from Afghanistan. Jose Mina, remember him, Miguel? Well, he's still on loan with Estrella. Okay. New York
No.
Red, yeah, of course. Tanner Rossborough, who's been scoring left and right. Of course, apparently that forward had been opening some eyes over there. He's going to occupy a homegrown roster spot in January. Okay, Mira. I thought he was going to retire. Okay, but nope, he got inked a 2-year contract with an option for 2027. Boys, it's a good move. And then for the announcement that basically is going to be happening probably days from now, probably will happen tomorrow. The Red Bulls are signing a new forward, depending on who you believe. The gentleman's name is Eric Maxim Chupo Moting. Say that 5 times fast. He's a dude from Bayern Munich, a forward, 35 years old. He will be joining the team. That's a big piece, boys. That's a big signing right then and there. The guy has a nose for goal. And he's no joke. According to a lot of folks I spoke to who watch the Bundesliga, he's a real deal. He's the guy that's on the field when you don't have Sane and, of course, the other big gun that they have for Bayern Munich.
When Lewandowski was injured, he was the big guy who replaced him.
He was definitely, and he was scoring goals. I mean, 2023, he scored 22. That's right, Miguel. 22.
Yeah.
With Lewandowski on the field. Okay? And so now we bring our attention to Gary, who's been sitting there very patiently. Thank you very much. Gary, how you doing, my man? It's been a while.
It has been a while, and like I'm sorry that the result didn't go the way you wanted to in the finals. I was rooting, obviously, for Red Bull as well.
Okay, let's talk about Gotham. New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. I get a lot of I get screamed at whenever I forget the NJ. Okay.
Yes.
They finished in third place, Gary, 17, 4, and 5, with a nice, nifty home record of 9, 1, and 3. Okay. They essentially built a super team. Okay. Shortly after winning the cup the year before that, they tried to sign just about every big name out there possible. So, but then they lose.
And PKs.
Yeah, not just that. No, before the season got started, 100%. Purcell, she lost for the year with an ACL injury. She's done. Okay. And of course, Orlando Pride, they're the champion. They defeated Washington Spirit, which was Washington Spirit, who Gotham lose to in a play. In probably the most ridiculous penalty kicks exhibition that I've seen in years. I mean, how do you go 0-3 in penalty kicks?
Yeah, if you want to zoom out a bit, 2 years ago when we started covering this team, well, 2 years ago, the team had 4 wins in a year's time. So going from winning the championship to losing 6 games in a year this season across the Champions League, Champions Cup, Summer Cup, we're in the Challenge Cup finals. So there was just like so many games, and Gotham just was just awesome. So this season on many levels was like a huge success.
Okay, of course, naturally, with 44 goals, they scored 1.7 per match. Not too shabby, Gary. I mean, they were firing in all cylinders.
Yeah, 16 more than last season.
16 more than last season. They do have a feather in their cap. And Catherine Berger, who I was shocked that they signed. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I was shocked as hell. I was like, they got her? Her? How in the world did that kind of? I mean, was she available? Did she want to come to Gotham?
This was Gotham went into the season thinking Abby Smith was going to return from injury. She was on level to be probably the first goalkeeper MVP of the league last season before she, I assume, tore her AC or her Achilles tendon and then had surgery, and it didn't go very well, so she ended up being delayed. So they needed to keep her. Anne Catherine was available. She came in and she has not resurrected her career because she was always good, but she wasn't getting the playing time she needed at Chelsea. And now she had quite a year. Goalkeeper, she was like MVP of the Olympics. She's incredible. And she lifted this team not only just with her ball playing ability, her shot stopping ability, her leadership. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, she won the season, gentlemen, with goalkeeper of the year. Deservedly so. Okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, next season is going to look a little different. Sam Hyatt, Martine Lopez, Delaney Sheehan, gone. They parted ways with the team. We got some news from the squad. So let's talk about 2025 in Europe, in you and Ruby's opinion.
Mhm.
I'm going to start off first, and the guys are going to follow up afterwards. Okay, what worked, what didn't, and what do you want to see in 2025?
What worked is I think Gotham became a little more pragmatic. Last season, they were very much like very similar to like how the Red Bulls were, where they were just on the front foot, trying to push everybody into the corners and just trying to take over the match that way.
Mm,
This year, they had a little bit more to do on the ball, and they had a little more thought process, a little bit slower in the attacking third, and they ended up scoring again 16 more goals. They put on 13 goals on a Jamaican team in the Summer Cup. They were lights out from the second half of the season on as far as scoring goals, so that really went well for them. And their signings, I'd say Ellis Stevens was huge for them in the middle of the season, coming in and just elevating a bench scoring option. There's not much that didn't go well for Gotham, other than I think the thing that did not go well for them is they had the Summer Cup final and they had Olympics players away. They
mhm.
had 8 players on injury, so they signed players that were retired just to fill out a starting lineup. So that didn't go well. It was just the congestion of the season. There was just too many things going on at one time, but they managed as best they could. So I don't think much went wrong this season.
Okay, Nick, you're up first.
Okay. Well, the Gotham's bringing Midge is coming back. So how does she come back into this new team dynamic that is going to be with this team?
I think about that all the time. Like, think about this team with Midge Purse on the field is just a scary thought for anybody, anywhere. It would be incredible. Last season, Midge was into her last season as a Gotham player. Her contract is up right now. She's a free agent. And if you watch the offseason official, she talked openly about how she was trying to find another team because thought she wasn't getting paid enough. And Gotham, as you know, a super team, doesn't really have the resources to pay every player the most money possible. So that was what she was, do I want to win a championship or do I want more money? And she decided to stay, try to win a championship, and she tore her ACL, which stinks. I don't know how much that hurts her value, but I hope that she resigns. But again, same position. Does she want more money or does she want to win? So if she comes back and we keep the roster that we have, you might as well you could almost give us the trophy at this point with Mitch on the field.
Miguel, you're up.
Okay, you know what? Last year I saw I watched a lot of highlights. Okay,
Mhm.
and Rose Lavelle seemed to be involved in goals and assists. How much of a factor was she this year for Gotham?
I'll be honest with you. When we first signed Rose Lavelle, she had played 12 games in a season 2 or 3 times in her career. She's always been either with the national team or coming back injured, and she doesn't play a lot of games. And I was like, okay, if we have it for half the season, that's a good thing. But this has been her healthiest season that she's played. She's played in almost every game. She's played on the Olympics. She's played all over, and she's raised her levels. The most goals she's scored in a season. It's the most assists I think she's had in this season. She's been lights out, and it seems like every time she's on the ball, magic is about to happen.
Okay. Question I have, of course, regarding about the one thing that you brought up that it raised my eyebrow a little bit was when it comes to Mitch Purse.
Mhm.
Saying, okay, does she want more money or does she want to win a championship? Um, Most NWSL franchises are somewhat profitable, but when you're talking about a team with a lot of money, this is probably the reason why they go overseas. Is
Mhm.
that still a problem with the league? I mean, they're trying to gain exposure, and they're doing a great job. I mean, the commissioner came in, and you got the league on not one, not two, but three national team out, national television outlets. But still, that's not enough. I mean, you're still losing players to some of the bigger clubs out in Europe. So what has to change at this point? More fans or more exposure, or both?
I think it's definitely growing, but I just want to give a shout out to the commissioner, the new commissioner. She's been the most labor friendly commissioner, and I think all
Oh
of
yeah,
American sports.
oh yeah.
The new CBA is incredible. It raises wages, it raises all the protections, and it just adds protections for when they have to they get pregnant, when there's all kinds of things. So it's a huge deal to have that CBA, and the salary cap was raised significantly. So now they can compete, and now they can form rosters like Gotham did. And I'm sure Gotham used every single penny in the couch to put the roster that they did for this season because it was stacked. Even their backups could start on everybody else's team.
There's a
So
piggyback out there, some that needs to be emptied.
yeah, but I think with the resources, with the fans coming in, it was really it's about getting the fans in, and it's also about the TV contracts. This is like to me it feels like a try before you buy contract. They're very similar to like the WNBA, where it's on a bunch of different platforms. It's on Prime, it's on CBS, it's on Ion. So I think they're trying everybody out and saying, okay, when we go to the next World Cup, can we hit a bigger deal with one of these guys or two of these guys and see which one works the best for us? That's my read of it.
Okay, Nick, one more time.
Well, so how was the Gotham had a great run with the attendance. Attendance was great towards the end of the season. What are they looking for next year going forward with the team?
I had the same expectations as of this year. Like if we polled the fans, and about 60% of them said that this was a success. About 30% of them said this was a big success, and about 15 to 20 said it wasn't a success, which is crazy to me. But I think for this team to take the next steps, I think it's very similar to what you pointed out on your podcast, Gary, is consistency. I think we deserve to be in the top 4 every season, the way this roster is built. So I think that winning something every year is important to me as far as like measuring success for this club, whether it's the Summer Cup, whether it's the Champions Cup, which we're in the finals or the semifinals next season. So I think it's just winning something every year, but everything's being raised up. The attendance was almost 60% higher, I think, than last year. So I think it's all going in the right direction. It's just for them, I think keeping the roster together is the biggest part for going into next season.
Keeping the roster together might be a challenge.
It is.
Especially where there was a lot of forces outside that's literally outside of Gotham's control. Among that, the one thing that I was one, because I always had, the guys here, especially the gentlemen's always had a keen eye on Gotham. And one thing that keeps coming up, right, fellas, every time we keep asking ourselves, it's like, okay, as far as the fans are concerned, we know that people are in New Jersey pretty much engaged, but what about New York? I mean, they rebranded with that in mind. Do you see that more fans are coming in New York to Red Bull Arena, or do they still need some work done on that end?
They still need some work done on that. It seems the same objections to coming to Red Bull Arena are across both fan bases. That's what I've seen so far. Obviously, the thing when they rebranded to New Jersey, New York, as you know, being New York Red Bulls, having the New York in your logo means something. And Alicia Hugh, when she rebranded, said, well, she would tell people like, who you are. She'd be like, oh, we're team plays in New Jersey. And they'd be like, oh, okay. But she goes, oh, we also represent New York. Oh, okay. Now we're talking. So it's like a branding thing. It opens up a lot more. And if you're talking about players overseas, do you want to come to New Jersey? Or do you want to come to New York? Right. It's a different feel when you say those two things. Yeah. I live in New Jersey most of my life, so I love New Jersey, but I get it in a marketing perspective. You say New York, people's ears perk up.
Yeah. So what I mean, the arrangement with the Red Bulls right now is basically with the stadium. Of course, we happen to know one of the owners anyway. It's happened to be the city governor. How much is that a factor of them getting their own place sometime down the road, like Kansas? They got a fantastic swanky digs, and they're looking to increase their foothold. I mean, at some point, the women themselves will rather own, not rent. You agree?
Yeah, I hear you. I've heard zero plans of their own stadium, zero, even with the up investment. But I don't know. What do you guys say? If Gotham wins another championship, can we call it Gotham Arena? I'll see myself.
I agree.
if they win another championship, they can name it any place they want. I mean, the way I see it, I mean, as long as they call the home of champions, that's basically. I mean, the simple fact that in 2 straight years, guys, Gotham FC and of course the New York Red Bulls have come home with silverware, and you know something I've said, all along. It's like okay, to me, a successful season isn't a successful season unless you bring home some silverware. They did it this year.
Mhm.
What I would like them to do, especially with Gotham FC, is a little bit of a disappointment because you won last year, so maybe a little bit of a hangover, but the hunger was there. I felt it from Gotham fans. They came to witness history. I mean, their home game. I mean, it wasn't a sellout, Miguel, Nick, but the place was, the lower level was full. Okay, the fact that they were able to win that match was a testament that the women's game is growing. Where once upon a time, that was not even considered a thought. So I'll ask you three: what does it have? Okay, it's there. We see it on TV. We see whenever the United States women's team come out, they had their little celebration at Red Bull Arena with the 99ers and everything else. That's how I got, fell in love with women's soccer. But despite that, you still have that ridiculous, you know, stigma where among the males said it's I'm not getting myself excited over check ball. No offense, but this is what I hear. So Miguel, I'm going to start with you. You have daughters. What would you like to see the women's game do more to broaden their engagement?
Wow, what a question, Gary. You know what? I would
told you I was going to hit you with a haymaker.
As a matter of fact, I was thinking that some games with like double headers with men's teams would be useful for the women's game here.
Wouldn't that diminish it somewhat? Because
but I'm not talking about like
undercard. Just like in boxing, you're talking about the women as the undercard. I don't know about that though, but continue. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, would that be a good idea?
But here throughout, like for instance, MLS history, you'd have a giant stadium with the Metro Stars and the Red Bulls or something. You'd have double headers of some sort every once in a while.
Local international double headers, yeah.
Right, like Colombia against somebody else would be up here, and then Metro Stars against someone else, like that. So I don't think that would hurt the game for both sets of fans. Okay, so that would be my opinion on what can be done.
Nick, we see it every day. We see the game is growing, but it's not there. What would put it over the top, in your opinion? What would get and this time I'm asking everybody who's also listening in the live show. What do you feel that that needs to happen? So go ahead, Nick. What's your thought on this?
I think they need to get the stars out more often. You got to get a better marketing campaign with the stars. Mm-hmm. You need to get like a face to the girls, which actually Team USA did pretty well with when they started winning. You knew the names on the women's side, on our girls' side when they were winning. You could go down the list. I think everybody can name them. I think the league could benefit showing, hey, these girls are here. They're not just on the national team. They're in the women's league. They can better market towards the specific location and highlight the women's national teams, and use a better marketing campaign. And I think will help them immensely.
Okay, Gary, your turn.
I agree with both those points from a marketing perspective. I definitely believe those two things can help in their way. The thing that I think women's soccer needs to do is grow at the academy system, grow that next generation of players. Right now, there's just not a pipeline like the Red Bulls have, like the Philadelphia Union have, where they can groom kids from their really young, straight up the process, right into the system. It's a little bit different now. If they're getting there, but that's I think it's the biggest step is there's so there's so much talent out there. It's just you got to have more identification camps. And Michelle Kang, if you guys don't know who she is, look her up. She's amazing. She's putting so much money into this sport. She just put 5 million, I think, 30 million over the next like 5 years into identification camps for the U.S. national team and pipelines and things of that nature. So that I think is going to really grow this sport is getting more kids on a path to. It's not just a rich kid sport anymore. Hopefully.
For those of you who don't know, she's doing the same thing that Arthur Blank is doing. Definitely in the ground, definitely in the groundswell level, and he was instrumental building a United States Soccer Academy over in Atlanta. So, as a matter of fact, the academy is bearing his name. So, talk about what the Hunts did back in the days in '96 when they helped build MLS and made it grow. Now you have other investors stepping in and they see the future of soccer, not just for the men, but also for the women. And that's, I'm hoping that Michelle Kang isn't the only one, that others will follow behind her and able to get to a pipeline. Because in this metropolitan area alone, Gary, and I think we talked about this once upon a time, there is a rich market for soccer for both men and women. The problem is getting that together. Now, NYCFC and the Red Bulls are doing their part. I didn't see much of a footprint for Gotham, but building an infrastructure not only takes time, we just lost Gary. No, he's back. Not only takes time, but takes money. And it's just like the WNBA, right? You need a generational player to get people excited. Of course, you have Caitlin Clark, and now everybody wants to be Caitlin Clark fans. In some cases, got a little ridiculous and overheated political wise, but okay, she's still a great baller. And now everybody wants to take a look at the WNBA, and then they're also bringing in teams in Toronto and so on. So with the way I see it with the NWSL, you need a generational player that's going to spark interest. Maybe not just one, but maybe two or three in other markets, and let that explode. Let that cook, as they say, and see where it goes from there. Gary, Gibson, and Ruby basically work the Soccer Over Gotham podcast. Please, tune in and join if you want to know everything about New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. Of course, as always, Gary, please don't be a stranger. The door, we, the gentlemen, are always here, to let you in, because we're going to see you next season as we kick that off in 2025. So that's, so of course, we'd love to have you and let Ruby know that, hey, seats, doors open for her as well.
I appreciate you guys.
And you have the final word at this point. As far as a soccer fan, as far as for Gotham FC, for Gotham FC, what is the one big thing you really want to see happen in 2025?
I want to see this team win something. I don't care if it's the Champions Cup. I think they have a really good shot at that. Whether it's the Shield, whether it's that, I want one trophy next season. That's all I want. That's it.
Okay. We did a poll before the show began, guys, about how their feelings toward the team, and 86% of people in the group, they felt proud, disappointed, but hopeful. 6% was pretty angry about it, wasn't expecting any change. 7% was meh, same old Metro, and just one person just voted that they didn't care or wanted to know why they needed a poll in the first place. Guys, I think in a sense, we can actually look at this season as a positive. Not, although it ended in a negative fashion, but I still remain that they're going to build on this, right? I mean, they can't just, let this thing sit, wait 6 more years, and then do this all over again, right? Would that be a big fat letdown other than just winning the cup, Nick?
If they don't, if based on the reaction you've seen from everybody just from the poll, if they don't build on this, they're blowing their chances to keep everybody there. You have people coming back. You have people again re-enthused about the team. You got to come through now. Now it's on the sporting side. This is on you guys. Bring in the talent to help this team get to where they need to go. We're not asking for much. We have the building. You have pieces in place. Just add the quality, make them more consistent, and you will get the result that we want, one way or the other.
Miguel, lastly to you, we've talked about this endlessly, where every season we always said, you know what, something is missing. There wasn't enough excitement. There wasn't enough engagement. There was a time where you couldn't wait until the season started. You didn't see that in the last few years. You think this is going to happen this time? Yeah, people are going to get excited before, well, kickoff. Are they people are going to get looking forward to the season?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are excited now as a result of this magical run to MLS Cup. I can see it. I can see it there. The pieces that we have to add. Okay, I think they're starting off well. They're signing supposedly signing a forward.
Supposedly, that's that
Yeah,
word you like to use.
supposedly signing a forward who, in my opinion, is better than Van Zier, Manuel, or Corey Burke put together. Okay, yeah,
He does have a nose for goal. I will say that.
Yeah, and
a lot of people.
We gotta see if we can get some quality signings in. I'm not talking about Messi or somebody of his ilk, but get a team with a lot of depth. Okay, Gary. Okay, a lot of depth. Okay, well, hopefully we can have a really good starting 11 and a lot of depth on the bench, Gary, because in these previous seasons, there's been a bit of a drop off. Okay,
And that's the one thing that we worry about, right? That's the one thing that we go, oh no, they blew it. That's the one thing I hope they don't do that. But to keep the enthusiasm, get people charged up, and then let people feel that okay, wait till this year, not next year. Wait till this year. So I'm sure that's the one question you want to really ask, the team, not just Red Bulls, but Gotham as well. Okay, what are you doing for an encore? This is good. Let's have some more. And I think the more the people just going to engage with these fans, the building is going to get full, and that's going to be a lot more fun to come see, the play, come see the team, as we go along. So, episode 131 is now done. We have one more to go. For today, 2024. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Always honor us, of course. You're all which happens to be Spotify.com. So for Nick Lianos, Miguel Nunez, and Gary Gibson, thank you for joining us for this hour. We will see you guys next week. Until then, good night and goodbye for now.